Thanks for joining us. A university in southwestern Ontario is stepping up its cleaning protocols on campus after an outbreak of a nasty stomach bug. Around 190 students have fallen sick so far. As Tyreek Reed shows us, the local health unit confirms it's received a positive sample of norovirus.
Just after lunch, I just felt something in my stomach and I just started throwing up and I had to go to the toilet multiple times.
Edward Chu says he caught a bad stomach flu. He's one of many students at the University of Guelph who experienced those symptoms in recent days.
We are currently monitoring and responding to a cluster of gastrointestinal illness, particularly in our South residents. As of Monday, we had our first case.
And as of Friday, 190 cases have been reported at the university. That same day, the local public health unit confirmed a sample of norovirus was found on campus. Symptoms typically include nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting. Doctors say the virus spreads quickly, making it a recipe for disaster.
A very small amount of virus can be enough to infect the next person. And some modeling suggests that one infected person can infect as many as 7 other people on average. And you're seeing situations where a lot of people are living together, like a long-term care or a residence, where one person's sick suddenly means many, many hundreds of people who are sick.
Because of this, he says cases on campus could likely grow.
If there are more than a couple of hundred people in that residence, that number will almost certainly continue to rise.
He says symptoms can begin to show in as little as 12 hours after exposure and could last 2 to 3 days. The university says it's acting fast to keep students healthy.
Our caretaking staff have initiated enhanced cleaning measures. And so what that means is additional cleaning of washrooms and common areas, additional cleaning of things like doorknobs, hard surfaces.
I understand that a few instructors have decided to move a couple of their lectures online, but at this time there's not any wider cancellation from the university level.
Students and residents say they're also taking extra precautions.
In my roommates and I washroom, there's someone put a little hand sanitizer thing, like a Lysol wipe, which has been nice, just to keep everyone extra healthy.
Doctors say washing your hands with soap and water and disinfecting surfaces are crucial to slow the spread. Tyreek Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
Turning to Ottawa and the race to replace Justin Trudeau, more contenders adding their names to the list. It comes as polling continues to show support for the Conservatives is far ahead of the Liberals.
We go and we ask Canadians in surveys, is it time for a change? Should another party and another leader be running the country, or should we be sticking with the party and leader that we have in power at the moment? 78%, which is the highest I've ever seen, say that it's time for a change. And what Pierre Poilievre has done is a very excellent, authentic job of positioning himself as the agent of change on the ballot right now, something that Jagmeet Singh, if he hadn't have been so close to the Liberals, may have also been able to share them. But Poilievre's in that place by himself at the moment on the ballot, which is the reason that we're seeing him so far ahead. Canadians are desirous of change, they want change, and they only see one option for change on the ballot.
A source tells CBC News that former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney is expected to throw his hat into the ring next week, and that dozens of MPs back him. So that's just one of the latest high-profile names, but there are several others. To talk more about that is Elizabeth McCallion. She researches and teaches political science at the University of Toronto. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So yes, we've certainly heard Mark Carney's name a lot lately. Take us through this race and how it's looking.
Yeah, things are off and running, it sounds like. We heard earlier this week about what the official rules are going to be for the leadership contest. There's an extremely high fee for candidates to enter, and it's $350,000, a lot higher than the $75,000 that was given the last time the Liberals ran their leadership race. So that tells us that the party is looking for serious contenders who can fundraise a lot of money from the public. And so we're going to see, we've already seen 2 people enter the race, Frank Baylis and Chandra Arya, and we're going to see what other contenders come forward. So right now, a lot of people whose names have been thrown around as potential future leaders of the Liberal Party have actually announced that they're not running, and that includes Trudeau's high-profile ministers like Dominic LeBlanc, Anita Anand announced earlier today that she's not running, as well as Melanie Joly. So we're looking at kind of who wants to do this this difficult job of being a Liberal leader, and who's really willing to put their name forward. So two people who we've still heard a lot about, who haven't said that they're not running, which seems to be the bar at this point, include Mark Carney, who you just mentioned, and Chrystia Freeland. So we'll have to watch in the coming days and weeks to see what kind of announcements we get out of other potential contenders.
Whoever steps into this role, it is going to be a very intense position. So talk to us about this job that the candidates are signing up for and what they will face.
Yeah, so there are two key things that we're assessing when we're looking at these Liberal leadership candidates, right? The first is that this person is going to be the Prime Minister as the leader of the party with the most seats in the House. So they have to be, ready to hit the ground running with a cabinet, with a speech from the throne when Parliament's back at the end of March. And especially to deal with the Trump administration coming in the United States, because there's been a lot of discussion about the foreign relations in that regard. The other job that they have, though, is in the next election cycle, distancing the party from Trudeau, and trying to get voters to be excited about the Liberal Party and to minimize damage to the Liberal Party in the next election, as we see the Conservatives polling very strongly. So the question becomes kind of who has that ability, who has the experience in government, but who is also distanced from Trudeau. It's not clear that there's any candidate that can fill both of those roles. So Liberal voters will have to think about kind of what their priorities are when they're picking a new leader.
There's going to be so much to watch for. We know you'll be watching it. We'll probably check in with you again over the next few weeks. They will be intense ones for sure. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me.
That's Elizabeth McCallion. She researches and teaches political science at the University of Toronto. Police and other officials across the province are warning about the risks of going out on ice over open water. With temperatures up and down, snow cover and ice-breaking work on some lakes, some ice can be thin, and that means a greater chance of falling in. The Life Saving Society sharing some safety tips.
We really want you to be safe and smart about it. So just take your time, think about it, measure it. Also, be prepared. If you find yourself in the water, you've fallen through the ice, the first thing that's going to happen to you is what we refer to as cold water shock. Focus on your breathing. Look back towards where you came from. So assuming you came from the shore, you would look towards the shore. You're going to take your arms and spread them wide on the ice in front of you, the firm ice. Kick your feet as hard as you can and try to shimmy onto the ice, sort of like a seal would. Once you're back on the ice, fantastic, but do not stand up. You need to stay down. Stay on your stomach and crawl or shimmy your way back to the point of safety, ideally the dry land. If you really want to go skating or, doing some things like that, we do recommend that you look to your local facilities in your area, find some, even outdoor arenas and outdoor rinks and stuff do exist. So those are the safest places to do those activities.
Just right to officially open a stretch of the Rideau Canal, the earliest it's welcomed skaters for the season in years. Nicole Williams is there.
You can almost feel the excitement of people eager to get on the ice.
We're so happy, and the ice is super nice today. So yeah, we're just gonna have a good time.
The Ottawa Landmark has officially opened for the season, a day many look forward to all year.
Feels amazing. We've been waiting for many weeks. We've been watching the weather, and we were praying for the canal to be freezing.
The National Capital Commission manages the famous skateway and announced a 4-kilometer stretch of it would be opening to start just a few days ago. Already, thousands have laced up. Some who have been skating on the canal for decades.
Since I was a kid, since they started to open it years and years ago.
Others here for the very first time.
We live in Heinsberg, Vermont, which is near Burlington, and we're here with a chosen family, and we're loving it. We've wanted to do this for years. It was on a bucket list.
It's the earliest the canal has opened for skating in 7 years, and hopes for a longer season are high.
I know the last 2 years haven't been great in terms of skating weather, but I'm glad that for the first skate this year, and the conditions are fantastic.
Last year, warmer temperatures meant the ice was only safe to be on for about a week. And the year before that, it didn't open at all. A first in the history of the skateway.
I'm totally optimistic, so I would think more than 30 days this year. I don't see why not. The forecast looks fabulous.
And while there are still fears about what warmer winters might mean for the future of the world's largest outdoor rink,
we have that cold snap that is continuing, is expected to continue for at least another week or so at least. It is a hope that winter activities can continue, at least in the short term, and it's important to take advantage of them when we can.
So how long or how little the skateway remains frozen remains to be seen, but the skaters here know that there's no time to waste when it comes to lacing up and hitting the ice. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Sophia joining us now with our first look at the forecast. So lovely to see people out there on Rideau Canal because it really has struggled the last couple of years. I know we've talked about it over the past years. Is it going to open? When's it going to open? How long? So glad people got to enjoy a good skate today.
Yeah, and the crowds that came out. Ottawa's favorite winter pastime is back, and I can confirm that it'll stick around for a little while at least. We were able to get that 30 centimeters of ice thickness with enough days between that -10 and -20. And the next forecast for the next 5 to 7 days at least looks to be good to maybe have a little bit more of the skateway opened up. In fact, we've had a ton of ice coverage growth on all of the Great Lakes. We started off with really next to nothing, and just in the past week or so, we have had about a 500% increase in coverage on the Great Lakes. So we've got about 10% ice coverage on the Great Lakes now, and that's really only since January the 3rd. And I know a lot of people on cottage lakes and homemade rinks right now testing the ice. Remember, you need 10 centimeters of ice thickness to be considered safe to walk or skate on. You need about 15 centimeters of ice thickness. That's more appropriate for an ATV or a snowmobile. Never be alone on any untested ice. Get those augers out. There could be hidden dangers like snow insulating ice as well. There will be more freezing happening. We're in the midst of a 14-day really cold snap below the freezing mark. We're about 14 to 16 days forecast right now to be below the freezing mark. If we get that, it'll be the longest stretch below freezing we've had since 2015. However, it was warm enough to get a little bit of snow the last 24 hours. I'll go over the totals with you in the long range, and we'll talk about the little bit more snow to come Sunday night, Shannon.
Okay, the kids will love it. Thanks, Sophia.
More snowmen coming.
We had so many toys that were out here. There's that little trash can thing over there was overflowing with toys, and everything's just gone. It's heartbreaking.
More people facing the grim reality of what they've lost as emergency workers continue to battle multiple raging fires in the Los Angeles area. We'll bring you the latest on that story next. Stay with us. More support from Ontario is on the way to Los Angeles. A Toronto charity is sending equipment to crews battling the massive fires.
By putting a water tank, 1,000 liters of water on this pickup truck attached with a Honda pump and firefighting hose, you're able to essentially turn this pickup truck into a little miniature fire truck.
So these fire skid units from Global Fire are being sent to crews in Los Angeles and the surrounding area. Ward says what makes them especially effective is they can get into smaller, unpaved, more secure areas. Well, let's take you there now where there are more evacuation orders as officials warn weather conditions could fan the flames into next week. Chris Reyes takes a look at what's happening on the ground.
This is the round-the-clock work happening all over Los Angeles to contain devastating wildfires that continue to burn and spread. And there is no light at the end of the tunnel yet.
Elevated to critical fire weather conditions are predicted to continue through Wednesday. Winds combined with dry air and dry vegetation will keep the fire threat in Los Angeles County high.
6 different wildfires are still active in LA County. So far, more than 14,000 hectares have burned. The biggest one in the Pacific Palisades expanded overnight, prompting more evacuation orders. Another fire devastated the community of Altadena, displacing many of its residents.
Some homes have been passed down through generation and generation, and it's heartbreaking to see
the challenges our community is facing at this time.
As fire crews battle the blaze, officials are warning of those who are taking advantage of the situation.
We've seen businesses and landlords that use increased demand during emergencies to jack up the price of essential supplies and services. It's called price gouging. And during a state of emergency like there is currently in effect in Ventura County and Los Angeles County, it is illegal.
California's leadership, from the governor to LA's mayor to the city's fire department, has been facing intense scrutiny over its handling of the fires, including questions over water supply and resource management.
Now, we need to stay focused, but I will say that when the fires are out, make no mistake, we will have a full accounting of what worked and especially what did not. And I know that this is a top priority of the people that are here behind me and the firefighters and the first responders that are on the front line.
Anger over who's to blame, burning side by side a raging wildfire. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Closer to home, a new report says a staggering number of people in our province are experiencing homelessness, and things are only expected to get worse. As Nama Weingarten shows us, communities are struggling with how to best handle the issue.
Since she was 16, Kai has been moving from one Ontario town to the next, searching for shelter. She now lives in Toronto's Dufferin Grove Park, but she's been staying at the home of a community advocate after her tent was destroyed.
And there's holes in it because there's plenty of rats and squirrels that are infesting in the park everywhere.
CBC is not using her full name because of privacy concerns. She's one of 81,000 people who experienced homelessness across Ontario in 2024, according to a new report.
The report, released by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, says that's a 25% increase from just 2 years before, with over 40,000 people experiencing chronic homelessness.
Without concrete action, it is only going to get worse.
How governments deal with the crisis has become a tension point, especially in places like Dufferin Grove Park, where the local councillor recently hosted a community meeting.
There are people that would like to see in this province and in this city a clearing, so sort of an enforcement that would, for example, use force to just remove people altogether, but we know that doesn't work.
Starting next month, the city will implement what it calls an enhanced outreach model at the park. That includes daily health and social support visits, waste removal, and 24/7 security. It also includes an encampment prevention plan that would stop new encampments from forming by referring individuals to shelter spaces.
So it starts with a relationship, the services that people need, and then an offer of a roof that people accept.
Kai says she's been trying to do just that for the past 8 months, but just recently found out she hasn't been assigned a support worker.
They spent 8 months telling me that there's no spaces in hotels, but not telling me that I need a worker to get one of those spaces.
Another focus of the homelessness report was who foots the bill for tackling the issue. It said municipalities are increasingly bearing the larger share of the overall financial burden. In 2024, the province spent $319 million on housing projects. That's compared to $1.6 billion that municipalities spent. When asked about the report Thursday, Ontario's premier says he hadn't seen it yet, but
we need to support these people, get them back on their feet, get them a good paying job, and we need to build more homes.
The report says homelessness in Ontario is on a trajectory to triple by 2035. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Toronto.
A Toronto woman is now facing charges for aggravated assault and arson after police and fire crews responded to a 2-alarm blaze at a high-rise building.
During the incident, the woman stabbed the victim and set a residence on fire. The victim was transported to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
It happened on Sherbourne and Shooter just after 11 a.m. on Friday. Police say the man and woman knew each other. We are heading into a quick break now. We're back with you after this. A heads up if your commute takes you northbound along the DVP. Starting Sunday, the northbound acceleration lane on the DVP will be closed from the Eastern Avenue on-ramp to Queen Street East. The The closure is expected to last until springtime, all part of the City of Toronto's plan to rehab 4 bridges. Now, there's also a northbound lane closure happening overnight Sunday and Monday. A perfect day to hit the hill for some tobogganing after some snow overnight. Big crowds of families enjoying some fun at Riverdale Park in Toronto's East End. A nice change from the bitter cold we've been seeing lately. Oh, wow, they really got a lot of snow in the face on that run. Sophia joining us now. My kids were out tobogganing. I know you guys were skiing.
Yeah, it was perfect because we had those really cold days, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it warmed up and we got the snow, and how perfect on a weekend so everybody can not go to school and enjoy it today. You got around 3 to 8 centimeters depending on where you are. Hope you're enjoying it. Some of it's on the melt. We are hovering pretty close to the freezing mark. You got a little bit more if you are on the Georgian or the Huron shores. There's a tiny bit still coming into the overnight period for those of you kind of Goderich, Kincardine, again towards that London, Huron shore area, just a few streamers. And then you're calm until this next week disturbance comes in Sunday evening and everybody gets another quick centimeter or 2. I actually want to zoom out because for those of you on the Superior shores, this can maybe be about 5 to 10 centimeters for those of you there. But everybody else, this is just another little dose of some wet snow showers. You'll wake up Monday morning to a fresh coating on top of that snowman or igloo that you made out in the front yard. For Sunday, we are warmer than we've been the last couple days. We are closer to the freezing mark. It's still cold enough to keep all your snow creations around, and even a degree or 2 warmer for Monday. You're hovering pretty close to the freezing mark, maybe even above. Remember, we're in a stretch, as I was mentioning, of about 14 days that if we stay below the freezing mark, could break a couple records here and there. Look at the long range forecast though. This is great weather for playing out in the snow. Just a few weak disturbances for this upcoming work week. No big major systems. Have a look at the cold snap Tuesday, Wednesday. It will be the appetizer course Shannon. There is a colder stretch to come into next work week. We'll be talking about that more next weekend. Here's that first little lobe of cold polar air that comes in Tuesday, Wednesday for this upcoming work week. Temperatures are a little bit more below normal. We're about seasonal right now though. You'll have cold overnight lows midweek this week, and then after next weekend into next week is when this really cold Arctic air descends, and it will be far to the south of us. We will be in the core of it. So prepare for some really cold temperatures into next week. Until then, this is great Rideau Canal skating weather. This is great skiing weather. All the ski hills are really happy. You need a little bit more snow, though, for some of the snowmobiles out there. But enjoy all the winter fun, Shannon.
All the fun things to do. Yes, for sure. We'll take advantage. Thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
That's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 11.